Welcome back to Harry Man Talks. I'm the host, Harry Man. Today we have a special guest, a young entrepreneur. He studied at FAMU in Florida. He's now the current director of operations in the Muslim Community Center of Charlotte. And he's also the one of the OG members of the Baraka Bros. Welcome, Abdul Razak. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, bro. This is an honor. I'm glad to see you doing your thing.
Oh, thank you, brother. What's the meaning of the name Abdul Razak? Can you?
Yeah. So Abdul is two-part. Abd means servant of, or one who like is deeply in servitude to, and then ul is of. So servant of, and Razak root word is rizq, and rizq in Arabic is provision. So like anything that comes to you that helps sustain you, maintain you, helps you through your life is a form of rizq, whether that be money or advice or a gift from someone. Anything that helps you in a situation that helps you live life better or progress in life is a form of rizq. So I am the servant of the one who gives things that keep you sustained and alive and make you wealthy and all these other things. That's what my name means. Yeah.
Did your parents know that? Like when?
50-50. I think they knew, but I'm named after my father's father. So I'm actually, I don't know if that counts as a junior, but you know, my grandfather's namesake.
Mashallah. Do you have like close relation with him or?
Yeah, so my grandfather passed away before I was born. And I think that's when my father saw it fit to name his first, son after his father as like, commemoration. But I love the name, so it was a good pick.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about like your upbringing, like your childhood, high school years, like where did you grow up? What was life like? Like how were you how were you as a kid? Like
So I feel like as a kid, I was always like questioning, right? Like I was the kid who gets in trouble because they are talking too much, but their grades are great, right? But they're talking a lot. I went to like daycare, traditional daycare, preschool in South Atlanta, or like Metro Atlanta, South Metro Atlanta. I was in like the College Park area for like early school, and then we moved to what is called Fayetteville, Georgia, which is a little farther out of Metro Atlanta, but still south, like 25 minutes south of the airport in Atlanta. Went to traditional elementary school. It was like 50-50 white, black demographics. Had a small mosque there, so I went to the mosque at like 8 or 9 years old. I started going to the mosque for like Sunday school type stuff. And then when I got to middle school, I went to a kind of like a magnet, like chart, one of those schools that's like they have like gifted programs and different things like that. So I went there, and it was a math and tech school, like science school. So middle school was fun. I got to do more like math, science activities, but it was away from the neighborhood I grew up in. And so I made a lot of friends who lived on the completely opposite side of town. So I always felt like alienated from the people that I was meeting because I couldn't come see them. I couldn't hang out with them or whatever. So I didn't have any friends on my side of town. And then after that, they built a new school in my neighborhood. And so I went to that school, and that was an experience because my neighborhood had gone from, relatively decent to a lot of inner city kids moving out, stuff like that. So I got a little rougher, whatever. Got in my fair share of fights, all that kind of stuff, middle school.
street fights.
Yeah. I had a lot of scars on my hands and stuff. If you
Guy.
look at you can see a little remnants of. I used to fight. But it was because of the same. I feel like it was the same thing that was like plaguing me as a child. As a child, I used to fight too in daycares and stuff.
Were you hot headed or?
I was intolerant. I would say more than like. I got a little temper, but it was like intolerance. If I felt like somebody was, I don't like bullies. So I was very against bullies. So if a kid was a bully, like I'm standing up to this bully kid, and then I'm fighting a kid that's bigger, whatever, like I'm doing it. And I didn't like being like what I felt was disrespected. So if someone said something to me that I felt was insulting, like I would ask them to apologize. If they refused to apologize, then I would just fight them.
Were you ever the bully?
Very rarely. I don't think I was ever the bully. And I don't know, what other people would say. It's fair to ask the other person how they see it. But I never was like the one to initiate it, or I was never like going after someone. It was always like I felt someone had wronged me, and I would try to talk to them about it, and they would make light of the situation or fun of it. Somebody laughs at you. You're a kid, like like, man, it's not funny. You hurt me. You could have really, what I'm saying, like whatever. Or they're picking on my sibling because I have 2 brothers and a sister, all younger. It's like I'm there with them. So if they're picking on them, then big brother's coming, like like that type of thing. So I'm getting into it with all kinds of people.
So where did this like? Because a lot of people like tell me like, oh, like Abdul Razak, like he's like mature. Like he's more than like people your age. How old are you again?
20. I turned 26 in December.
So mashallah. So like To me, you're also very mature, but like, it sounds like you weren't at a certain point. Like, so when did that like start to switch?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess the way that I see it is that I always, because I was the oldest, mother's first child, I was raised the oldest of with three younger siblings. Like I always felt responsibility, and my parents weren't shy to like give me responsibility. Like I was cutting the grass at like 8 or 9 years old. You know, like hold on type stuff. Like taking care of my siblings when my mom is going out because she's, you know, my parents are both immigrants, so like she came here, and their culture.
Where are they from?
From Ghana,
Oh,
West Africa.
Ghana.
Yeah. So I speak Hausa, speak Ghana, speak English. So like I grew up in a multicultural household, and it's like if my mom needs help, they're used to having like family. You know, families live together, like or they live really close to each other. But here it's like very isolated. Neighbors don't even know each other. So I was always the one that she was dependent on if she wasn't, you know, she had to run out, do something, whatever. So at 8, 9, I'm babysitting my siblings. So I feel like the maturity came from like responsibility, right? Like I know I have to be the one that keeps everything in order. So I always was thinking like, what do we need to be doing? How do we need to do this? What's, you know, so like that type of thing. But I think the like emotional intelligence came later, right? Like I think that's where I was lacking because I was dealing with my siblings and like, okay, that's cool. But when you deal with somebody who I felt wasn't like, for lack of a better word, like home trained, like they didn't have like a structure in their house, or they're doing whatever they wanted, eating sugar at 10 o'clock in the morning, you know, whatever like type of craziness is going on in their house. I'm like, man, like somebody needs to tell you that like you need to get in line, right? Same way I would tell my siblings like stop playing too much, you're gonna break that. Like I would tell them too, but my siblings, okay, I'm big brother to them. These people are like, who are you talking to, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? What I'm saying to you makes sense. So it was like this emotional maturity development over time is where I would say I was lacking. But alhamdulillah, by I think my last, I don't know, I don't want to expose myself too much. My last fight that I got into because of that type of situation where I felt like we were at odds in terms of like emotional intelligence, it's probably like high school. But again, I truly feel, and with the, you know, Allah's my witness, most confidence I can give, I never feel like I was the bully or like the aggressor in a situation. I was like fighting to defend or protect, or, you know, so like that type of thing. But when I went to high school, it got even wilder a little bit. So in Atlanta, there's a county called Clayton County, and that's where I went to high school. And Clayton County has a reputation because like Migos, people like rappers, and a lot of them like Trinidad James, all these people came from like this type of place. Waka Flocka, all of them were like in Clayton County. So like it's known for being this place where it's like a little rougher, I guess, the outsiders. But when you're in something, you don't see it like that. It's just where you are, you know. So a lot of different types of people. I ran into a lot of different types of people, and I feel like that's where the emotional intelligence started to kick in, because it's like I can't be a hothead with somebody who has nothing to lose, right? Like I can't be like, oh, I'm just gonna fight, because they are now in high school. People are carrying weapons. It's not like just fighting anymore. Like it's, you know, so I got jumped in high school for the first time, and I realized like even in a situation where I can't, like I want to fight someone, if you're outnumbered, you're outnumbered, right? Like that doesn't, it's
Street smarts.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's not, so I started to see like, okay, I need to be more strategic about how I move with this stuff. So I think the emotional intelligence came later, but alhamdulillah, got out of high school. I got out a year early, but I did dual enrollment my senior year just to get away from that type of environment, and did a year of like college early, got into that just to kind of separate myself. But I feel like a lot of maturity came from high school. And so I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for where I went to school. Yeah.
And then you started at well, going before that was like, were you involved in sports? Like,
Yeah. So I started playing football middle school. So I was playing football in middle school. That was the thing to do, right? I wasn't tall, so no basketball. We didn't have a soccer program in middle school, so I didn't even know about soccer at the time. Like, never thought baseball was fun to watch. So I was like, I don't even want to play it, you know. So football was it. And then when I got to high school, my mom took me. I remember she took me because I had gone from this school that was like math tech oriented 2 years, and then I shifted to this school in my neighborhood where the principal got fired halfway through the year for embezzling funds. And then you start to see like, she's like, okay, this school looks new, but the people in it are crazy. And then I go to this high school that's old and the people are crazy. And she was like, okay, we're going backwards here. Like I'm taking, you know, so she was fearful. So then she goes to the football program with me first day, and she sees all these grown men with beards. You know, high school, that's when you get the drastic difference between the freshmen and the seniors is like massive, you know? So she's looking at these guys like, I'm not letting these grown men hit my son. So like, she told me I couldn't play football. And
a smart lady.
yeah, you know, so I mean, I stayed out of that, but that's what got me into other sports. I was like, okay, I still want to be active. What else can I do? And that was right around the time Ghana lost the World Cup to, I think, Uruguay. And so I was mad about that. And I was like, man, I'm going to defend my parents' country and I'm going to play soccer, you know? So I went and started playing soccer. So in high school, I played soccer. I ran cross country because nobody wants to run long distance in track. So they were looking for somebody to do that. And I'm a soccer player already. I was a running back, so like it just made sense. I run all the time. So I did that. And then I played football starting my sophomore year. So after a year, she was like, give me a 4.0 year and I'll let you play football. And I did that. Alhamdulillah. So
What position?
So I played running back and safety.
Okay.
I was
Not
playing
sure.
football. So yeah, carrying the ball. But it's because I was talking trash a lot. I used to talk trash about the running backs. Like, man, hey, look at this guy. He can't even run. And coach one day, he was like, okay, you come here. He called me out. You know, the whole lineup be calling for me. They said, coach is looking for you. I come. Coach is like, all right, I want you to run the ball now. I'm like, I don't play running back, coach. He said, you are today. Go play this. I ran, man. I scored. And after that, he was like, maybe we could do something with this guy. And I started playing running back. But I hurt myself. And so that's kind of what shifted me to the dual enrollment thing. Because senior year, you know, that's your breakout year. You want to get a college offer or whatever. Like, I wouldn't say I was, like, great by any means. But I was, like, work ethic. You know, I work hard. But I hurt my back. I don't know if it was because I was doing too many sports or what, but I bruised my spine. And then after that, therapy, all that stuff. And then I was like, man, if I'm not playing sports, like, I don't really want to be here. Because I know, like I said, the scene is not, it's not really conducive to, like a scholarly environment. And I don't feel like I'm going to be a better person because I'm staying around here. I feel like if anything, I'm going to pick up bad habits.
Wow.
There's a lot of the kids I knew.
You had
like,
this mindset at 17?
Yeah, 17.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, man, I need to, you know, so I'm looking, I'm one of 2 kids from my school that are applying to dual enrollment. Of course, they accepted it because, you know, nobody's getting this. It's free money the county's giving, but none of the kids are, you know, their parents don't know, whatever it is. My parents don't know, so I'm looking into it, right? I'm kind of signing on, you know, I can say it now, I guess, because it's past, but I'm signing on their behalf. I'm doing, you know, whatever to get me into this. And I get me into it. And my parents are supportive the whole way, so Allah bless them. I get into it. And, yeah, dual enrollment, I play indoor soccer at the college. That's what I did as my sport after recovery. So I went through a season of intramural indoor soccer. And, yeah, got about 25 credits, then got a scholarship to go to FAMU. So that's where I ended up going for school in Florida.
HBCU.
HBCU.
Okay.
So that's a historically black college and university. So it's a school that was founded during the early or late 1800s when African Americans weren't permitted to go to majority white schools. So they had to create their own schools, and the government knew either we'd have a situation where there are a lot of African American people who are poor and desperate and are committing crimes because they don't have a place to go get higher education, or we have to admit them into our schools. So they gave them money or they gave them land and told them build your own school on this land.
Yeah.
So literally, like, people were hand building like schools. Like African Americans in this country are hand building schools. So the school I went to was one of those schools.
Yeah.
And it used to be called the State College, the State Normal College for Colored People, when it was initially founded in 1887. And yeah, so they're looking for like young black, like you said, hungry kids who want to do something with themselves. And I don't even know how I got referred, but myself and the friend that I had gone to middle school with ended up having an interview for the school on the same day. Saw each other, clicked in my head like, that's my boy. I know, you know, like, and he was also that type of person. Still love him, still talk to him to this day. He's not Muslim, but he, for what a Muslim should be in terms of like a hunger for knowledge, like betterment. He's read all the books, like he's read the Torah, he's read the Quran, he's read the Bible, Old Testament. He's like, and you know, so I was like, man, I'm looking at him like, all right, we're gonna do this together. So we went together, and then we met my brother-in-law. He's now my brother-in-law, but then we were friends. So both of them's name is Tariq. So both of them are named Tariq, and then I'm Abdul. So it's Tariq and Abdul Razak at FAMU.
We call it Tate.
Yeah, Tate. Yeah, so Tate and Abdul Razak at FAMU. Yeah.
Still going? All right, good. Now go ahead. What were you saying?
I mean, that was pretty much the school journey. I graduated with a degree in quantitative analysis and science, but it's like an applied math degree. But I started as an engineer, failed like 2 classes because I was trying to do the most. Realized I wasn't really feeling it after an internship. Was like, what do I want to do with myself? We started an MSA on campus. I was loving that, right? I was doing all kinds of stuff on campus, and I was like, man, I don't know, but I'm into entrepreneurship. I like starting businesses. I've met some people who were doing that. They told me like, and I read a book. It's called The $1 Billion Muslim by Qudam Malik. And he's a second generation like us, but he lives in Canada. I think the UK, one of the two. And I read that book and it opened my eyes to the need for Muslim entrepreneurs in this country. And I was like, man, like after I read that book, I was like, what am I doing? Like I'm failing my Muslim ummah, you know, I'm failing the so I gotta be I don't have any other choice. So then I graduated from college, started a business, and was trying to make that work, and then COVID came, and alhamdulillah, before COVID we were doing okay.
What was the business?
So I started a backyard construction business. So any type of backyard outdoor space, building decks, building fences, building like gazebos, like all that stuff. But I'd met a couple contractors from a job that I had done because of course I had engineering connections from going through that time at college. So met a couple contractors, and I realized a large part of business is who you know and being able to like bring them together for projects. So like that's what I was doing. Like, I don't have the knowledge of how to do all, but I can bring the people together to do it, and I can do the sales part. So I do the sales part. I get the job. I tell them, okay, I have the money for you. Come do the work, and they do the work. I set up the money, and then we split it. And so that's what I was doing until COVID came, and I decided to make a move because COVID showed me that the jobs that were out there that I was doing anyway were heavily impacted because the price of materials went up crazy. People didn't know what was happening, so factories shut down. People didn't want to talk to people because they're scared they're going to die from this random disease that happened. So I was like, man, I don't have a job right now. And what's happening? And people were like, oh, IT is, is the thing to do. So I started looking into IT jobs, and my brother-in-law's wife recommended for me, then we're just friends, but she recommended for me a program that invests in young entrepreneurs. And it's called Venture for America. And I looked into that. It was like 5-round interview process. I went through all 5 rounds. They flew us out to Detroit for the final round. Went through that, got through that. Started with like 2,000 applicants. I think they picked like 200 of us. So alhamdulillah. And that led me to picking one of the cities that they sponsored this program in. And Charlotte was the closest city to Atlanta.
Wow.
Other than Birmingham. And I was like, I'm not going to Birmingham. So I came to Charlotte, man. And that's what brought me to Charlotte.
So tell me, what is the program, or what's the purpose?
Yeah, so Venture for America is a nonprofit organization that seeks to invest in a young, recent college graduate for 2 years. They pair you with a startup, and then you work at that startup. And the hope is that after that 2 years, you have enough like clarity, insight about how the startup works to found your own if you want, or to become a leader of a startup. So that's their goal. Okay. They pair you with one, you work there just like an employee. They hope that you learn as much as you can, and then you either start one yourself or you become a leader at one on the East Coast, because they're trying to compete with Silicon Valley and the West Coast. So they're saying we're getting a brain drain. All the talent from the East Coast is getting called out to the West Coast. So the East Coast is just suffering. Like you're seeing all these cities like Detroit, Baltimore, like all these places that used to be thriving are like falling apart. And they're like, we need to fix those cities. So they're trying to keep talent in the cities on the East Coast. So
Charlotte is one of them.
Charlotte is one of them. Exactly right.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So it's like 2021 you got here?
2020.
2020.
Right in still in the midst of the
COVID,
pandemic, yeah. So when I came, the city was pretty much closed. Like I couldn't meet anybody because everywhere's closed. Like, So I was in what's the name of this area? Plaza Midwood. That's where I was staying. And I was going to like
close to Uptown, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I was riding my bike everywhere because at that time I'd left my car in Atlanta. And I was like, man, just trying to figure out, back to my Muslims. Like, even in college, I was, so I'm like, where are my Muslims here? That's my first community. So I reached out. I found MEC, the Muslim Education Center on Shamrock. And that's where I was. I did part of Ramadan there, part of it in Detroit. In Dearborn, it was amazing. So many Muslims. And I just learned. Like, it was just little things. We're just building on my knowledge of, like, entrepreneurship, like, relationship building, all this stuff. But I made some really good connections at Shamrock. They made me feel like this place could be home. And then I met a few brothers volunteering who told me about MCC. And so I was like, okay, I'll check this mosque out. They're telling me about this thing. I came to MCC, I think for a Jummah or something. I was like, okay, this place is cool. This imam is white. That's strange. Is there a white man up here preaching? Like, is this guy about to preach? Is he a pastor? Like, what? I'm just like looking at this, like, what does this white guy know about Islam? And then I'm listening to him, like, I think I came and he was talking about Black history. And I'm looking at him like, who is this guy? Like, what even is this? And so I go ask him something after. I can't remember what I asked him. And he was like, yeah, brother, this, that, whatever. I'm like, okay, this guy's kind of cool. I'll check this place out again. So I came the second time. And I think I came to some event, like the International Food Festival or something like that. I came to some event. I was like, okay, this community's pretty diverse. I see a lot of people here, whatever. So at that point, I was like, hey, man, I might start coming here. So I moved in with the brothers who introduced me to the place. And they were closer. They were in University area. So that's when I learned about how, like, the different neighborhoods in Charlotte and all that stuff. And then, from there, I was coming to MCC, kind of put MEC in the rear view. MCC everything to the point to where I started volunteering there and all that stuff. And, alhamdulillah, here we are today.
So what about, like, the deen, like, made you start taking it serious? Was that at a young age, or was it recently, or have you always been on deen? Like, what was it?
So I remember... definitely want to thank both my parents, first and foremost. May Allah have mercy on them. May Allah bless all of our parents, because they go through things that they don't tell us about. But From what I've even seen, just being a big brother, like parenthood can't be easy. But I remember my mom was definitely like the religious one of the two of my parents. My dad is very like how do you call it? He's like he's religious, but he's very much like matter of fact religious. Like like use your brain and be smart. Like don't do this. Don't
The
do
logical.
that. Right? The logical religious one. And my mom was like more like the spiritual, like devote yourself, like do these extra prayers, all this stuff. So she used to try to encourage us with like sometimes the fear tactic stuff, like, oh, if you don't do this, you go to hell, whatever, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And she sent us a video when I was 13, I remember. I was 13, so my siblings were 9, 5, and 3. And showed us this video. And there was this kid who was listening to music. He wasn't listening to his mom, something, whatever. And then he went to sleep, and then boom, he dies in his sleep. And then it showed you, like, as it's described for us through the stories, like his journey through, like, from this watching his body be washed to the great. And I had never seen anything like that in my life.
How old are you?
I was 13. I had never seen anything like that in my life, bro. It freaked me out. I was like, bro, I don't want to die and go through what that guy went through, because that's crazy. At the end of it, alhamdulillah, he woke up, and then he was like changed. Like, I've never, whatever. But it changed me. I was sitting on the couch like, man, what am I doing? Like, with my, like, what, I'm 13. I'm like, man, I don't know. I can't remember when I realized I had, death impending, but I remember that vividly. Like, that day, I tried to make up all the rakat that I had missed, bro, and I got tired of praying. Not praying like 80 rakat 90 something. I was just trying. I was like, man, I don't know how many I missed because I was not praying, but I'm gonna try to catch them. And I told my mom, like, man, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to do whatever. Like, it just, I don't know why it hit me like that. Everybody has their moment when Allah tugs at your heart. I don't know why it hit me like that, but it did. And so I remember from 13 is when I decided, like, in my head firmly, 2 things. At 10, I decided I wasn't going to curse. Because everybody who I knew who cursed was like, I looked at them as in a negative light. I was like, I don't want to curse. I think the people who curse they sound like stupid to me. So I don't want to curse because I feel like what they're doing is stopping themselves from learning the words that they want to use and just filling it with curse words. So I was like, I need to expand my vocabulary, not going to curse. So me and my brother went to a library one time. It's funny. I told him, man, listen, we're going to stop cursing from today. Okay, he's 7. He's like, all right, deal. So we go stand outside the library, man. I said, okay, let's say all the curse words we want to say, then we're done cursing. So we just cursing into the words, like this cursing. Then after that, I stopped. I don't know if he stopped, but, I stopped. Every now and then, when I get angry, a few come out, whatever. But, like, for the most part, alhamdulillah. At 13, man, I'm like, man, I'm not missing any more prayers. Like, so I remember those as 2 pivotal moments when I decided, like, I remember those clear, like, firm intention, no cursing, and not missing salah at 13. And of course it was a struggle, but I got better. By 15, I would say I was hitting all of them consistently every day. But yeah, my mom kickstarted that, get right before death comes journey. And of course I lost some friends in high school while we were going through it. Like the gun violence, some of them, one of them, well, 2 of them, it was like asthma attacks. One of them got robbed, tried to fight, got killed. One of them, the girl that he was messing with, something like, she set him up. Guys tried to rob him, he tried to fight, killed him. Like, this is high school, so I'm like, man, I don't know what's out here for me. Like, I'm looking at people I knew, people wearing their face on a shirt next week. Like, I don't want to be those guys. So, like, yeah, I'm just...
Constant reminders.
Yeah, so I'm like, I'm going to just stay away from all the... I see it, I'm thankful I'm Muslim. I go home and it's a different atmosphere. I'm not dealing with this. I was thinking about the people who, they go home and home is just like this place. I'm like, man, I'm blessed. So, yeah, that's a large part of it, but alhamdulillah.
So you're married, alhamdulillah. Like, you got married, how old were you?
25.
25?
I got married last year.
Still young.
Yeah, going on a year.
Most people don't get married that young. How did you find your wife, and what were the obstacles you ran into, like, while trying to get married?
Yeah, sure. So I met my wife through a friend, in short. Met my wife through one of my best friends. I told you about the 2 Tatiks. One of the Tatiks is who I met my wife through. The short of it is we went to school together, of course. We ended up living. We tried to live together earlier. It didn't work out. I lived with one of the Tatiks my freshman year and one of the Tatiks my senior year in college. And in between, I lived with randoms, and that was craziness. Getting fights, all kind of like craziness. But my senior year, we were living together, and he was graduating. He was in business. He was getting his business degree. And he was in supply chain. So he was graduating a semester early. So we only got to live together fall semester. But every morning, and I love this, like that's why I was like, I have to live with Muslims when I came to Charlotte. And that's why I ended up moving in with the brothers. We used to pray Fajr together every winter. It was great to have someone there who's young. It's not my parents. It's like, it's my bro. We're praying together. And we just have talks after Fajr every day. Like, we just talk to each other about topics. Debated interests like 20 times. Like just whatever, like, whatever, this, that, interest, this, halals, do we have meat, this, that, whatever, like, whatever, And one morning he came out and he told me, bro, I think I'm going to get married. And I was like, is this the topic you want to talk about today, or what is this, bro? And he was like, no, I'm serious. I was like, why? And to who? Like, because this man he don't know girls around, whatever. Like, I can't say I wasn't like that. Like, at one point, I don't know, man. Girls are a different story. College is a different place, We try our best and we do what we can do. We ask Allah to forgive us. And
the temptation is there.
Right, but it's there. But I had never seen him, like, even look to give in to that. So I was like, man, you a better man than me. Like, sometimes I catch myself looking too long and stuff for a lot. I got to get reminded, whatever. But he was good about it. So I'm like, who is this girl that has, like, struck this strong man? Who has gotten him weak, like this? So he told me about the girl. He said, he knew her since high school. And he just started talking about her. I'm like, oh, bro, you really like her. Like, you've been liked her. You just don't talk about her. He was like, yeah. I'm like, she lives in the UAE now because she's going to school over there, but she's graduating this year. And so I think it's time for me to ask her because I don't want to miss my chance. And she's graduating. So I'm graduating, so I can go work now and give her, I don't have to pay her. I can give her money. Like, I can take care of her now. Like, I'm about to get paid. So, I was like, okay, man. Like, if you feel like, so he said, I want you to be my right hand through this. That's what he told me that morning. And I'm like, nah, he's capping. Like, this is a lie. He not gonna do this. And he called me. I used to work at, I was doing an internship at Home Depot my senior year. And he called me when I'm at work, and he's like, man, trying to go to Dubai? And I was like, what? No. What are you talking about, bro? I don't go anywhere. I go to Atlanta and Florida, and I go back and forth. I don't go nowhere, And he was like, yeah, man, let's go. Tickets right now are cheaper. Let's get a ticket right now. I was like, man, I don't just have $800. So I call my mom, like, Mom, I know it's crazy. I never call you and say anything like this, but I'm trying to go to Dubai. She's like, for what? Like, this man wants to go see this woman that he wants to marry. She's American, but she went there for school.
It's not even the wedding. It's just go to see her.
To surprise her at her graduation.
Okay.
Because, she knows we in college. We're broke kids. We don't have any money. So he told her she wasn't, he told her he wasn't coming. And, of course, she accepted that because, like, okay, I get it. You don't have the money, whatever. He said, nah, but I got to wait. So we're going to go. So this man was like, I want you to come with me on this crazy journey to surprise this woman. So I went with him, man. My mom loaned me the money. I told her I'd pay her back with my whole next check. So I paid her back with it, and we went, man. That was my first time as an adult out of the country. Went to the UAE, and I learned from that. I hate long flights. Don't want to do them. Went, man. Got to see a Muslim majority country for the first time as an adult. It was just thankful for the experience. But he did it. He surprised her. I played. She didn't know me as well as she. She knows him, but she didn't know me. So I was scoping it out. I had my. I think I have a picture on my Instagram of me and a turban and like a thobe or something, squatted down. Like, I had my fit. I was wearing my glasses, stealth mode, like scoping the scene out for him. Told her when she came out, he had gotten one of her friends to pretend like she was going to do a graduation shoot for her. At the, there's like a version of the Louvre in the UAE, the Louvre Museum in France. There's a version of it in the UAE that looks exactly the same. So she went there thinking, I'm coming to do my graduation shoot. He set the whole thing up just so he could pop up in the background of her pictures. So when her friend shows her her picture, she sees him in the back and then she freaks out. So that's what happened. He did it. I was amazed. This man planned this. So yeah, from there, I started to get to know her family because, of course, now they're planning a wedding. Yeah. And I met her sister. Didn't think much of it. And then who knew? Allah had written that would be my wife. I'd met her. Didn't even see her the first few times. And then, 2 years later, I moved to North Carolina. And then I attended the Black Muslims Conference online. She also attended. This is virtual with 250 people in attendance. They put us in, like, chat rooms to meet people. I get put in a chat room with her. Like, oh, I know you. Like, yeah, okay, cool. Where are you? I live in North Carolina now. Oh, me too. I'm going to school in Greensboro.
It's meant to happen.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like it just kept falling. That's why if I'm telling people my story, it's not like I have the answers or I know. It's just like the people, the company you keep. Because I met them through him, like, and I met him through my love of, like, trying to be on the deen. Like, trying to, so it's like the company you keep, man. But
like, your intent wasn't to get married. It just happened.
Oh, man. Like, I even missed her. I'm telling you, I missed her for the first 2 or something years I was seeing her. I didn't even pay attention. So if it was like anything that you've ever seen, it would have been like after 2 years, man, she's gone. She's on to the next thing, whatever. But alhamdulillah, Allah moved me from where I was in Atlanta. I happened to move here. All right. And then I happened to move. She's an hour and 20 minutes away. Yeah. So, yeah. And then a year and a half later, we got married, man.
Like, so I'm assuming you knew a bit about her because you're your friend.
Right.
And, like, how she was raised and stuff.
Because I met her parents long before I met. Like,
wow.
Because I met them because I went to the UAE to see their daughter's graduation. So I met them there, right? They came naturally to see their daughter graduate. So I had dinner with them and everything as the right hand of my guy. So they asked me some questions, like, they got to know me. So they knew me. But of course, I don't know if they were thinking it, but I didn't even know they had another daughter. I'm just there as like, with him. So I got to see them before. They got to see me before. So I think it helped me a lot because they'd already seen my character before I asked about the daughter. So I was like, at that point, they'd already know.
But yeah, like, because with marriage, it's like with marriage, it's like I go through, like, when I'm talking to a girl, like, kind of like a vetting process if I don't know the family.
Right.
But, like, it sounds like did you go through, like, a question and answer with her, like, to figure out who she is? Or
Yeah. So we did it twice. One was a bit unorthodox because I had met up. So the family had a family home in, like, Virginia or something that they would go to. And her grandparents were living there. And so, like, we went there, and that's where they did the sister's wedding. So I was helping set up the place. And, as his best man, I'm wherever he needs me to be, I'm helping. So I'm helping set up the place, whatever. So I got to know the father, like, through working side by side with him, like putting out, cutting the grass and doing, this like type of stuff while he's getting ready, going to get his suit done and all. I'm just out there working. And so the daughter is also helping. So I'm getting to hear her and her dad talk. I'm getting to ask her questions there. Her dad is there. He's answering. So it's like I was just with the family. You know what I'm saying? It's like an add-on. They don't know me.
This is before you were talking to her.
Any interest. Like, I was just with it because I'm just there helping. I'm like looking at it like whatever my guy needs, I'm here for. That's my boy, So, like, I got to learn about them, see how they interact as a family, like, and I saw some things that I appreciated about the family. So I was happy for all I'm thinking is I'm happy for you, bro. This is good. This is a good family. Like, you did good. Alhamdulillah. The whole time, other family members are looking at me like, hey, And my wife tells me now, like, her sister came to her and was like, he has a friend. Like, you've seen him. Or, like, what do you think about him? And she was like, he's all right, That's what she said. She said at the time, like, whatever.
She's cabbing.
Yeah, whatever, right. Yeah, but, and she said different family members kept coming to her asking her this. So she decided, like, she's going to set up a situation where me and her have to talk more. So she did. Like, one morning I was looking for breakfast, didn't know where stuff is in the house. Of course, I don't live there. So she was like, I can help you, show you where stuff is. So was doing that, and we talked a little bit then. I got to learn more about her. Like, she also was at HBCU, like, pursuing an engineering degree. So very similar, type of thing. Make me walk through memory lane.
But, like, it doesn't seem like... It seems like long ago, but it wasn't even that long.
Yeah. It's just something. Life moves fast, But essentially we had talked then, and then we talked when I realized she was in North Carolina. I asked her if we can meet up at a park and talk, public. And I called her dad, like, hey, I want to meet up with her before to get his permission. He's like, okay, as long as you guys are somewhere public, that's fine. So we went to a park, sat on a bench. We were supposed to hike on a public trail, but a tree fell on the trail, I think, or something. So we just sat on the bench and talked. From there, I got to, ask my questions. Came like, what do you value? What do you want in a family? What do you see as a provider role? Whatever, What she said, I was like, okay, I can agree. So, from there, I called her dad, like, okay, talked to her. Think I'm more interested in talking to her further. Like, what are your requirements for me? He was pretty much like, I've gotten to know you, and I respect the person that you're striving to become. So stick with that, and you can continue to talk to my daughter. Like, no issue with me. So I was like, okay. And so after that, but he told me that she had to finish school. He gave me his list of, like, things that she has to do or he wants her to be in or whatever. So I was like, okay, I respect all of that, and I'm willing to work with you however you want to work with us. So, from there, it was a year and a half of me assessing through various encounters with us and all that stuff. Like, a year, well, really a year. Do I want to do this? And one day I decided, man, like, the big question to me was, can this woman be the mother of my children? Like, if my children were raised by this woman, would I be pleased with that? And I was like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, I guess I know my answer then. Like, we can do this. So, I popped the question to her. She told me, one time she told me in passing that she wanted the traditional, like, proposal, the need thing. I'm like, we don't do that. Like, that's not a thing. But I was like, man, I could, like, it's not, okay, whatever. So I did it. I set it up, took it to a waterfall place, had some random guy.
And it's romantic.
I set it up, man. I did, alhamdulillah. We got a little bit in this. So I did it. So we got that video, so she could watch that every time she's mad at me, I show her that video. She get over it. But we did the thing, and then we got married 6 months later. That's our proper question.
Alhamdulillah. I don't even know how to transition. Like, sometimes I'll be listening back to my podcast. I'm like, that transition made no sense. But switching to a whole other topic, like, this whole discussion online of, like, okay, what is a high value man? Like, the whole red pill movement versus Islam. Like, and now we see, like, okay, Andrew Tate, a guy who has still has a lot of red pill ideology, and but he converted to Islam. Mashallah. Like, what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate specifically?
Yeah. I mean, so in general, I did watch a couple documentaries on Andrew Tate just to get a sense because, of course, he was blown up online. He's going viral. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? And from what I've seen of the accusations against him, I think that anyone who is an oppressor should be brought to justice. Like, that's fair. All right. So first and foremost, not a fan of any of the oppression that he's being accused of, any of that accusations. For what's been proved, he should face justice. Right. And I agree with that 100%.
But what has been proved?
So I think that from what I've seen, there have been a lot of testimonies, a lot of people who have said that they personally have gone through these types of abuses with them. And in terms of evidence, as far as forensics, all that stuff, I don't know the details. Because so many people have come out, unless there's some underground movement to frame him in some way, like there has to be some truth to this, right? He has to at least have done some of what they're saying that he's done. So
I think, like, first of all, was it the Vice documentary?
One of them I watched was the Vice documentary.
Don't take that. That was a hit piece.
Oh, okay.
And Vice is they're known to have an agenda, and they're also going under.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw something about that online too.
Like, so the I've had this discussion with people where, okay, some people say it's sex trafficking, like coercion.
Right.
And I get that. Like, he took advantage of women that were in poverty, and he took advantage of that situation, had sex workers. From that evidence, I don't think they were under duress, how do you say this? Like, they were free to go, but at the same time, they were coerced, so they're coming from poor countries, and they have no other option. Like, and he's made them feel like, okay, like, I'm giving you money, like.
So he's like elevating their social status.
Exactly, and to that degree, I think he should. If more evidence does come out, he should be brought to justice. Right. But at the same time, like, we're Muslims, like, we don't know. As people say, like, oh, his conversion is like a marketing tactic, but like, we don't know what's in his heart,
right?
And we should forgive the brother. But like I said, like, that doesn't mean that what he's done, he should not be held accountable.
Right. I don't think I'm in a position to. I can't forgive him for what he's done to others. Like, if we say anyone should forgive him, it's those who said he's wronged them, right? They're the ones who have to forgive him. For me, it's assessing whether or not this brother is a brother who's on the right path or not, or a brother who's like a good example for my children to follow. If my children came to me and said, "Oh, I want to be like Andrew Tate," how would that make me feel, right? And for what his fame or his wealth has come from, I'm strongly against that, right? Even if it was that they were willingly participating as like, sex entertainment workers or whatever. Like, I don't want my child's wealth to come from that type of industry. And so I would strongly discourage it. And I think the moral compass of a person, regardless of whether or not they're Muslim or they have openly said that, it's like, what is your moral compass? Where do you align? Much like the first topic I told you about, like, he doesn't proclaim himself to be Muslim, but his moral compass is something that I can agree with, right? He knows where his lines are, boundaries. And I feel like with Andrew Tate, I don't agree with his moral compass based on what he's done. And I don't think becoming Muslim by name overnight will change the moral compass that he has. So, like, I stand against that. But again, like you said, when it comes to his position with Allah, that's between him and Allah. If he is doing something amongst men that I can openly see is incorrect, I stand against that, right? And like I said, for me, sex work, traffic, all that stuff, against that. The over bravado or like this hyper masculinity thing that he has going on, I feel like is a compensation, because anytime I've seen someone aggressively present themselves in one way, it usually serves to hide a deficiency on the other than that spectrum. So I'll give you an example. A person who's very cocky is usually also very like sensitive. So you insult them and then they lose all of everything, right? A person who like gets very angry when women don't approach them is also a person who's very insecure, right? It's like that type of. So what I'm seeing is a compensation from him. And
I feel like it's. Sorry to cut you off. It's a character, I think, because the controversy, the character, it gets views. Right. And I don't think, I don't know the brother, but I don't think he's like that when he's sitting down with someone without the camera.
I hope not.
But at the same time, I agree. He should not be a role model, especially for young Muslims. And I want to bring on Imam John and other imams to talk about prophetic masculinity, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Sahaba, so that young Muslims can know, like, this is who we should model our life after.
Right.
But at the same time, I see why young men are going towards him he has a lot of good aspects. Like, everyone has like good and bad you can take from them.
Right.
But I see why they're going towards him, because there's a void there in like our society now, where there's a void of masculinity, like traditional masculinity, and there's this push of like liberalism that Imam John talks about, and I don't think he's talked about, but there's like a push to make men more feminine. The LGBT is also part of that.
Okay.
And that's why a lot of young men are resonating with this, like protect, provide for women, be physically fit. So that's why I think they're going towards him. But like I agree with you, he should not be a role model.
Yeah. He definitely sits on the other extreme, right? If everyone is saying feminization, like men should be softer, men should yield more to women, men should do this thing, he's saying forget that, men should be doing the opposite, right? We should be even more more. And so it's like, if you have to choose between the two polarizing figures, if you want to be a man, you better be the manliest man ever, right? And that's what he's representing. But I still feel like our sunnah, the sunnah that we've adopted, is the middle passage. It's like the middle way. Be a man, but don't overstep your bounds, right? Be a woman, but don't overstep your bounds. And it's like sitting in the middle is the best way for us. And so for someone who maybe was on the extreme effeminate side, who's seeing him and they decide to become more masculine, good for them. They're coming back to the middle, right? Yeah. But for someone who's in the middle, who feels like they should now go beyond to where he is, I feel like that's dangerous.
Yeah, it's a lot of red pill guys. Like they get their heart broken by a girl. Right. I mean, we've all been there. And then this whole red pill movement of like, I don't know if you heard of Fresh and Fit podcast. It's like a whole, man, I don't even want to get into it. But they're like a whole red pill ideology, like, have multiple bodies, multiple partners, and, but it's so hypocritical, because then they say like the woman you marry should be a virgin, but then you have like multiple bodies. It makes absolutely no sense.
Extreme toxicity. Yeah. It reminds me of the phrase that I've heard before, like hurt people hurt people. It's like it's similar to my wife and I like to talk about childhood traumas, right? And how every time we express a behavior that we can't immediately identify like logically, it's like, okay, this is linked to emotion. This is, again, the emotional intelligence thing. Like, where is this behavior in me coming from, right? And why does this thing trigger me so much? Like, this person said a thing that seemingly is nothing, but I'm like upset about it. Why did it trigger me? It was probably related to something that happened to me as a child that I didn't reconcile then. And so I'm still carrying that baggage. And it's like, for a lot of these people, I'm seeing that childhood traumas are not being resolved earlier. And so they're carrying those into adulthood. And then they want to inflict pain on people who aren't responsible for these traumas that they have, right? But what you can't do is go back in time and deal with the person who did that to you. But the only person you can deal with is the person that came out of that, which is you, right? So at that point, you need some therapy. You need some self-reflection. And Islam gives us a model for that. And our prophet, peace be upon him, when he was going to the cave and meditating, he was reflecting on what was going on. Like, his society was doing terrible things. And he's like trying to understand in himself, like, why and how can I separate from this? And then Allah gives him away. And it's like, for me, it's more about resolving the issues in yourself than it is inflicting that harm, pain, or like struggle on somebody else. Like, that's not the answer. Because all you're going to do is create more toxic people who do more of this to people. And then this cycle continues until everybody's like that, right? So I don't see that as a solution.
Yeah, Prophet ﷺ, his like emotional intelligence he talk about is like amazing. Like, subhanAllah. Like, is it still going? All right, last topic I wanted to or a few last topics I wanted to discuss. We talked about high value man, and to me, it's not about monetary success. It's not about fame, notoriety. To me, high value man is one who follows the Quran and Sunnah. And I meet a lot of them the past year. The Barakah Bros, shout out Barakah Bros.
Shout out Barakah Bros. For sure.
All those guys, they're not rich, insanely rich. They're not famous, and they just embody the Sunnah because they're coming to the masjid on a daily basis. We're around it. And then once you're around it, you start to become it. So I noticed that with the Barakah Bros, and then the leadership too, like Obeda, Mansoor, like they take leadership. And I don't want to like how do you say this? Like talk good about you to your face. I know I've heard that's like a bad thing.
It's like makes you big-headed or something.
Yeah. But one thing I noticed about you is you took initiative, like, because you came into the group, maybe you're there a year before me, but when I came in, like, it was a small group of us, right? And we were like, Obeda and Mansoor were the ones taking initiative, Nasif, but nobody was really like pushing it to like, let's be involved more in the community. And then I saw you give the first announcement at the khutbah, and I was like, yo, this young guy, like, I've never seen this before. And like the leadership qualities, like, I see it in you. And like, where did that come from? Like,
I mean, I think, alhamdulillah, Allah's the one who decides the strengths and the weaknesses he gives us. And he's also the one who decides which of those things he exposes, right? Sometimes we don't even get to see all of the strengths that we have before he calls us back. And he protects other people from seeing our weaknesses. So I don't ever want to like sit and say like, oh, I am the way I am because of me, right? That's an arrogance. Large part due to upbringing again, right? I'm trying to understand myself. I'm tying it back to my childhood. Like, what experiences did I have that shaped my view of the world? Somebody said to me one time that, and I think it's on Instagram too, there's a post going around or something where somebody talks about like, and I think Dylan also shared it in our group chat. He was talking about like the percentage of your life that's like the value of each year of your life in relation to your whole life, right? He was like, the first year of your life, everything is new, right? The second year of your life, 50% of stuff is new. Third year of life, 33% of stuff is new. Fourth, so those first 5-7 years, you are forming so many brand new ideas because you've never been exposed to anything before. When you're 40, most stuff is not new anymore. Like, you've seen most stuff. And so it's like whatever I'm going through as a child largely formed who I feel like I am today. But I also think a part of it is how you responded to those things. So it's like, what did I do when I faced this person who wanted to abuse somebody? Did I stand by and watch them, or did I stand up to them? Well, it's like the decision that I made then, like, something in me was changed, resonated, something happened, right? And I feel like those consistent decisions, and this is what I believe life is about, like the decisions that you make show you where you were supposed to be, right? Allah knew where we were supposed to be, but he wanted us to see which decisions we made that led us there. What is the path of those who achieve this status, right? What is the path of, like, so I just feel like it's my path. If Allah has chosen that he put me in the situations and this is the way that I respond, he's permitted to me to respond in that way, I'm thankful. My parents are a big guide. They've given me so many lessons. My siblings have taught me so much and allowing me to be their big brother. Like, the people who've seen potential in me and who've encouraged me have made me feel good. When somebody says like, bro, this podcast is amazing, like, keep going, right? You're like, yeah, if it makes you feel good, like, you should smile, feel good, keep doing it, bro. Like, I love it, right? If somebody says something good to you and it encourages you, like, keep doing it, And the people who've put those like seeds of hope in me have pushed me to continue on this path, right? I feel like a lot of people who fall off is because they don't have as many people in their corner telling them keep going, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, this is the value of companions, right? I told you I have a beautiful friend named Tariq, he's not Muslim by name, but he practices better than most of the people I've met in my life. And then I have the other Tariq through whom my whole wife came, my deen came. It's like, these are my friends, right? So it's like the value of friendships. You're my friend. Look at me today doing this podcast. Look at Buttercup. Like, so companions, bro, like they keep you, you bounce around them and then you become a little bit of all of them. And it's like, we got to keep strong company. So alhamdulillah, I'm just around people who inspire me in different ways to be great. And I'm like, man, I can't let any of these people down. So that's it, bro. Like,
I talk about this all the time. I was meeting with a person of knowledge when I was going through a rough time. And I had been practicing. I had my brother Moeen, where I was practicing alone. But I had him. I would see him every Friday. But I didn't have a group of brothers, and it was like very lonely. I'd cut off like old friends. And then went to the person of knowledge, and she was like, she's very renowned, like, teacher. And she said, like, okay, you can practice alone. It's like, she said the same thing. Solitude is better than bad company, but it's going to be impossible to stay on the right path alone. You're going to need brothers around you. And then, alhamdulillah, like a few months later, I messaged Yazid and
alhamdulillah. I'm thankful for even the fact that people can recognize like the need for a brotherhood. And I'm thankful for the consistency. Like you said, there are leaders in it who we center around. Like if they're gonna be there, I can't let this brother down. I can't let Masur down. I can't let I can't let these people down. So we know we got to show up. I'm thankful for that we're consistent. Like if any, Allah says that He loves the deeds that He loves most are the ones that are consistent. It's like we're consistent. So may Allah accept that from us, right? But yeah, man, we need Jesus had disciples, Moses had his brother, right? The Prophet ﷺ had his Sahaba, his companions, right? Everyone that we know that is a great example to us was accompanied by someone. Even Adam alayhi salam, the one who was by himself, longed for someone to be there with him. So it's like everyone needs at least someone, right? We don't do anything alone.
Abu Bakr.
All of everyone. We need someone, right? No one travels alone and goes far. So we need people, man. We need each other. I'm only as strong as the company I keep. So like, yeah, Allah bless the company.
So talk a little bit about MCC, what you're doing there, what the goals are for you in the MCC.
Major. So MCC, again, Muslim Community Center of Charlotte. Muslim Community Center is a name that's affiliated with a lot of different mosques in America, but we're not a part of like the chain or anything. It just happened that was the name that was chosen. The Muslim Community Center of Charlotte is focused on encouraging the devotion to God, striving for excellence, nurturing American Muslims engaged in the service of society. So big focuses are the empowerment of the local Muslim population to be able to own their Islamic identity, to be able to understand Islam in a context that makes sense for where we live, right? Like, how do we apply Islam in the world that we actively see in front of us? A lot of what we get is like historical context, right? People tell us about the history and these great men, and it sounds like, oh, that was so awesome, but like, what do I do about this dog that keeps like barking at me when I walk down the street? Or what do I do about this person that keeps cussing me out at work? Or this girl that I'm interested in, but I, you know what I'm saying? Like, what do I do about what I'm seeing in my face right now? Like election people that I don't, you asked me about Tate, like, what do I do about that stuff? And it's like, we need to be able to use the lens of scripture to understand the world that we're looking at, right? So how do we bring scripture to us right now? And MCC is all about that. That's what it's about. So Imam is a powerhouse, and he's trying to push people to see like, you can be equally American and equally Muslim, right? Like one does not exclude the other. In fact, you can be more Muslim here because nobody cares what you're doing. You can be orange hair, green hair, nose pierced, eye pierced. Nobody's going to talk, like nobody says anything. How much more strange is it to be Muslim than that, right? Like, it can't be stranger to be Muslim than have piercings in your eye and say that you're a sheet of paper and a thing, you know, like that's what is, so if you can do that, you can be whatever you want to be here. Be Muslim. Be proud to be Muslim, right? And Islam makes sense. Like, Islam is not Allah doesn't command us to things that are not sensible, because then we would be seen as backwards, right? He doesn't call the best of nations the backwards people, right? So if it doesn't make sense, reconsider it, because that might not be what Allah is asking of you. Imam is calling people to that type of message, and MCC is about that. I love that, because to me, it feels like I can share this message with young Americans and they'll appreciate it, as opposed to like, oh, that's like some over Arabicized or like some weird foreign culture thing, or like, you know, like they can listen to me and be like, oh, men should be good to their wives. Men and women are equal, but they're created biologically different, so they have different roles in society. Like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that's not a strange concept, you know? Like, I should be kind to my parents because they went through a lot of hardship with me, and I too will be a parent one day. Like, oh, that makes sense, right? Like, I should take care of needy people because if you don't take care of them, no one is going to take care of them and they'll suffer. That makes sense. That's why I pay this charity, not because somebody forced me to pay a charity, right? Like, it's just a lot of stuff that makes sense if we understand it in our context. If somebody says to you to make wudu, and you say, okay, I'm going to make wudu, and you live in a place that has no water, like, how do you make wudu, right? In your context, you need an exclusion, right? You need an exception. Allah gives us that. The religion accounts for, you see what I'm saying? There's him, he thought about everybody. Like, so Islam is for everybody. I don't care where you are, and MCC is preaching that heavily. Some people don't like that because they feel like Islam is only one way, but it's like, no, that's the way it was when you were in your country under the circumstances that you were in. That's why your people followed that madhab, because this guy was from your region. So it makes sense where you are. But when you come here, that doesn't make sense here. So we can't do that, right? Like, the Prophet ﷺ wore thobes. Abu Jahl also wore thobe, right? So does that make thobes Muslim, or does that make it cultural? I don't need to wear a thobe then. I'm going to dress like the people here dress. Just like the Prophet ﷺ dressed. He didn't stop dressing like them when he became the Prophet. Like, he dressed just like them. He wore the same thing they wore. He went to the same places they went. So, like, nothing is wrong with any of that. Some people want to act like if you're American, you're not Muslim anymore. And that's not the message we need to preach. Because that means every Muslim American here is going to leave Islam. Because they're going to be Americans. Like, what do they do?
Because I've heard, like, it's a big thing online. The West is falling and go to Dubai. But, like, how many of us realistically can move our whole family to Dubai?
After being raised here, like, think of how much pride your parents have in their home country. We were born here. We should be allowed to take pride in where we were born too. But that also means we have a responsibility to make this place good, right? Just like they go back and they complain about the politicians and everything. Like, we should be doing the same thing here. Like, if we live here, I want to raise my kids to know that, like, you own this country just as much as Billy down the street or Sarah, or that, like, you need to go and be in charge so that the stupid stuff that's happening stops happening. So get ready to be in charge here, right? Like, that's how we need to be training our children.
We're doing it for the kids,
right? You see, for all, because ultimately they're the ones who we're going to leave this for. I look at it in like 10 year. I look at generations in like 10-year cycles. Like the people who are 10 years older than me, I take them as my mentors because it's like you're close enough to me to where I can relate to you, but you're far enough ahead to like probably be in a different phase of life. It's like, what are you seeing, right? Help me get ready for that. And then the people under me 10 years too, like if they're 14, 15, like, they're struggling with their identity and all this stuff too. I was just there, bro. I was a teenager 10, 10 years ago. Let me talk to you about what I was going through. I understand the slang still, capping, all that stuff, whatever. But like I still also am far enough ahead so where I can tell you, bro, when you're starting to think about girls and getting serious and being a man in that way, like, let's talk about how you should do that, right? Let's not don't get these people are beating on the women. That's not cool. You're the powerful one. Don't abuse your power in any relationship, whether you're the person buying food and the waiter or the husband and the wife. Like, don't abuse power, bro. So I can give them that, but I feel like a lot of times we're pushed a culture, and it's like if you don't accept the culture, you're not Muslim. Like, I don't need to accept the culture. Islam, the Prophet still literally was sent as a mercy to all of mankind, like everyone. So Islam has to work everywhere. Like, so how do we make it work here? I'm hoping, and this is I don't know what any sheikh online or any imam or whatever will say. I'm hoping that one day America also has a madhab, and we have like a person who really takes time to give us like rulings based on our circumstance, our locale. Like,
What is madhab?
Madhab is a school of thought. It's like America, like how there's there's some people who say I'm Maliki, I'm Shafi, I'm Hanbali. Like, I hope that America establishes a person who we see as like our foremost scholar, who says that American Muslims, this is how we approach this situation. This is how we approach. That way, we are united as a group too, right? Just like those people who are in Iraq, or those people in like Philistine, or the people in Saudi Arabia. They have their people, and they look to this person as like, oh, he was a scholar of our generation. Like, we should have one too, because we live in a new country, just like the Prophet left Mecca and went to Medina, right? We also live in a new place where we need to establish law. These people are doing something, but so we need to think about it in the same way. And our message didn't start, the Prophet ﷺ's message didn't start with these are the rules. It started with correct yourself, correct your heart, like have faith, be strong. Like, it was like a lot of like internal building, like this, what do we call it? Like stoicism, like self building, like understanding like how to like, what is it? Self-help. There was a lot of like self-help messages to the people, like be strong, go through it. Like, and then it became, now that you're strong enough, here's how you stay strong, right? Here are the rules to protect you from the things that are going to try to weaken you again. It's like, that's the model we should, but right now, you got a lot of internet imams and a lot of people who just are like haram, halal, halal. What up? Like, it's destroying people because they're like, man, there's so many rules. I can't even breathe. Like, I'm out of here. And we don't want to do that. You see what I'm saying? And that's the opposite of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be inviting people, but we're doing the opposite sometimes. So, I mean, that's my goal. I see MCC as a place that's really working at doing that, and a place where I've been given an opportunity to like help in that process. And it's like, I don't take that lightly. Like, not a lot of masajid would give me being a black guy, being a young guy, American accent, like, dressed like I don't wear thobes and stuff, I'm not like, but they gave me a chance, right? They're like, okay, let's see what you got. So they've already proven to me through that alone that like they're serious about empowering the next generation. Like, let's run with that.
Yeah, because I'm 25. I've been to a lot of masjids. I've never seen a young guy give the announcements. Like,
so yeah, MCC is serious about this. It's not. I'm blessed and thankful that Allah, from my Atlanta to Florida, whatever, Allah sent me all the way up here to Charlotte. And then from MEC to MCC, right? I got directed all the way to this place where I can, so I'm like, man, it's an opportunity. Only Allah knows what's to come, but I hope through MCC, we can build a culture around young American Muslims that makes them feel like I am American and Muslim. Like, you're not one or the other, right? That's it. Inshallah.
Last thing, I think I'm going to ask every guest this because it's kind of my brand, Hairy Man. Like, I kind of talk about like what a real man is. And I ask every guest this, what is the definition of a high value man?
What is the definition of a high value man? I think a high value man is a man that aligns himself with things that bring about morality, justice, and goodness in the world without undervaluing or undermining the rights of anything, right? We think about everything has rights. A high value man recognizes that everything that I encounter has a right over me, and I need to think about its rights and give it its rights before I engage with it. Like, whether it's a woman, whether it's an animal, whether it's a high value man recognizes like I am a part of the universe. Like, I'm not a part of this town. They say like I'm a part of something much greater than myself. What type of relationship do I need to have with all these things? If this man thinks like this all the time, is constantly connecting back to the one who created everything, this man is going to walk with his head high all the time. He's going to be thinking, he's going to be a model citizen, because like everything that he encounters, he's going to treat with the utmost respect. I think a high value man is a man that sees that he needs to do that because he's a part of a universal society and not just a local, global, earthly society. He's a part of a universal society, regardless of what form he takes. He knows he's a part of a universal society. And he seeks the answers from the one who created everything. I think that's a high value man. That's a
great answer. I realized I should have started with this assalamu alaikum, but I was just like, welcome. But thank you for joining me, Abdul Razak. I appreciate it. Yeah, come on back anytime. But yeah, if you're in Charlotte, visit MCC, ask for Razak. He'll greet you. Ask for the Baraka Bros. We'll show you a good time. But yeah, I want to bring on Imam John too when I have like better equipment.
Okay, you on the phone days?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah. Is this still going? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Yeah, there was a little bit of static noise. Couldn't really figure out. Did some messing around on how to get rid of it. I'm sorry if it was a nuisance while listening, but it was still a good episode. I wanted to put it out. You know, inshallah, I can bring on Abdul Razak again when I have, the equipment. As far as the equipment, I am just needing an audio interface and 2 microphones. So I have put a GoFundMe link in the description if you want to support the podcast. Either way, within a month, if the GoFundMe doesn't get enough money, I will still buy the equipment. But just want to, give the podcast supporters a chance to support if they want to. And if you can't support, at least share the video, at least share the link of the GoFundMe to someone who maybe will support. Or if you can't even do that, just leave a like, leave a comment, or just subscribe. Do any of those things. It helps out the podcast a lot. We're pushing out a message of Quran and Sunnah, self-improvement, what being a man really is. And going to bring on a lot of guests, not just people who are content creators, but people who have a story, have something to tell, and can inspire the people watching. So yeah, man, like I said, check out the link in the description. You can find the guest we had on. You can find all my socials. You can support the pod. And yeah, assalamu alaikum.